Welcome to the Visible Value Business Finance Simulation. Now in this video I'm going to run through the moving balance sheet exercise and show you how to complete it. So when you have a go yourself you can refer back to this video to remind yourself exactly what you have to do. Now remember, visible value is like an anatomical model of a business. It allows you to follow cause and effect. Now it's far easier to learn by doing than by being told what to do or even how to do it. Now in our experience, learning or experiential learning tends to last. We also believe learning is enhanced when it's fun, and visible value is not only engrossing but it's also very enjoyable. Remember, in this simulation every cause and effect relationship is visible. In fact, you yourselves will have put everything into where it ends up. There's going to be an emphasis throughout on careful planning in order for you to achieve your financial objectives. Brilliant. So when you come in, you'll notice there is an opening screen with an opening memo on it. Obviously, we will encourage you to read that. Once you have read it, if you hit the continue button, it will take you forward to the screen with a small help dialog which is already open. We're just going to close that and you'll notice now that we can see the entire game board. Now, if you ever want to return to that opening memo, if you go up onto the icon tray at the top here, the left-hand icon, the folder symbol, and you left click on that, it opens up the document library. The very first document in the library is that opening memo. So if you want to get back to it or refer to it, you know where you can find it. There's also another document in here at the moment. There will be more documents as you go through the simulation, and this is a summary of the key rules and costs. Trust me, you're going to be coming back to this document frequently as you go through the simulation. Okay, now before we start I'm going to quickly talk about the two other icons. The one here, the current round checklist, if I open it up, you can see that there's a series of events which we have to complete. Each time we complete a particular stage, there'll be a tick that appears in these grayed out boxes here, and once we've completed them all, we'll be able to end the phase. Now, there's also a banner here which shows the current one we should be doing. So there are two ways we can see what we have to do. We can either open up the checklist and see the entirety, or we can just look at the banner here and we know that's the current thing we should be doing. So I'm going to close that particular balance sheet. Now, before we start the business, I just want to draw your attention to the current balance sheet. I'm just going to open it up. Now, the moving balance sheet will be prompted. In other words, there'll be a prompt that comes on screen and this icon will flash when you have to open it up and do something. So when we see the first prompt arrive, we will open up the moving balance sheet and I'll show you what we have to do. Excellent. So whenever you get to a particular item in the checklist, there's always an information button here. So I'm going to left click on there and it tells us exactly what we're going to have to do. And I'm now going to follow those instructions precisely. So I've got to move over to the investors area, press the invest button, click on the actual figure itself of 0, type in a 30, hit the return button, and now I have 30 white coins. I'm going to move those across to share cash. And now I have 30 silver coins, which represent cash, and I'm going to put those onto the cash area. Excellent. Now, here's our first prompt. Please open the moving balance sheet, and it's flashing above. So I'm going to close that prompt, left click, and now I'm going to follow the instructions. So what do we have in cash? Well, we have 30. So I click with my left mouse button, put in 30, hit return, and yes, I put the correct amount in because it says 30. If I put the wrong amount in, you'll notice that it's a red cross. So you'll always know if you put the wrong figure in. So I'll put 30 in there. Share capital, I've got 30 white coins in share capital, so I've got 30 there, and obviously 30 there as well. You'll notice that the flashing icon has stopped flashing now, which means I can close the moving balance sheet, and I now have a new instruction, which is to buy new machines. Now, there we are. I'll press the help screen, and I'm going to do exactly what it says. So I'm clicking onto the pay button, putting a 5 in, pressing enter. 5 coins detach themselves. I'm going to move them across, place them onto the buy for machine 1, and you'll notice that because we're buying a yellow machine, the machine 1 is turned with a yellow background. In fact, when you select the appropriate amount of money and buy a machine, the amount of money you place on the buy will determine the color of the machine. And there we have it. The second column of the moving balance sheet now needs to be filled in, so I'll close that prompt and I'll open it up. So cash, well, cash is no longer 30, we've spent 5, so cash is 25, and we have a machine which has a value of 5. So even though we have less cash than we started with, the value of our business is still 30. Still have the same share capital, 30, and therefore the total is 30. Good, all ticks across the board, so I can now close that, and now I can move to the next action checklist. So, move my mouse over the external suppliers and press buy stock. Now you'll notice that each machine has 6 vacant circles, and you see them all the way down. So therefore the maximum I can order is 6. So I'm going to order 6 because that's what I've been told to do. Now the cost of each of these is 2. So 6 times 2 gives a cost of the order of $12. And when I've absolutely sure this is what I want to purchase from my supplier, I then press the place order button. And you'll notice that we now have 6 yellow products which have been made by our machine, having received the raw materials from our suppliers. But now, of course, we see 12 red coins. Now that is us paying for our stock, as the help screen tells us. Now, because we're a new business, we cannot take supplier credit, so we're going to have to pay them out of our cash. So I then move that across, and you'll notice they cancel each other out, and the help screen disappears. But look, we've got another prompt to fill in the moving balance sheet. Something has changed in the business. So when I click the amount of cash, well, the amount of cash is now 13. Now the machine still has a value of 5, but now we have a stock. We have 6 yellows. They each cost 2, so 6 times 2 means that the value of our stock is 12, which means the value of our business is still 30. We still have 30 share capital, and it makes 30, and that's still balanced, which is excellent. Now you'll notice there's a new icon that's appeared in the top icon tray. It's flashing, and it's the delivery record. Now, normally in the simulation we run a market which determines which orders you've won and therefore what your delivery record will look like. But for this exercise, we're assuming, when I open it, that you have only bid for one customer, or you've only been successful in bidding for one customer, which happens to be customer Y1. And they bought 5 yellow widgets off of you for a price of 20. The goods sold, the cost of that, well, we know each yellow one costs 2. 5 times 2 equals 10. We've got 20, so the profit must be 10. Now, as we move through the simulation, these will not be automatically calculated for you. You're going to have to do these calculations and fill them in yourself. Once you are content with that, you then press the deliver button. And what you'll notice, and I didn't press the information button, my apologies there. What you'll notice is as you press the deliver button, the widgets move across into the customer's area and they're replaced by 20 silver coins. Now, I just draw your attention to the delivery record over here, and you'll notice the payment terms are 30 days. So we can't move the money onto cash, we have to move it onto owed from customers, and we put it on 30 days. Good. Now the next thing we have to do is fill in the 4th column of the moving balance sheet. So we're going to do that right now. So the amount of cash is still 13, so that's good. The machine still has a value of 5, but stock has changed. We no longer have 6 stock, we only have 1 stock. So 1 times 2 means the value of our stock is 2. And now we are owed 20 by our customers. So we put that in there. And this now all adds up to 40. Now we know we have 30 share capital, and so to get the moving balance sheet to balance, we're going to have to put 10 into profit. And when I do that, 30 plus 10 equals 40, and we've successfully balanced the moving balance sheet. Good. Now the next thing I have to do is to adjust our retained earnings. Well, we've just discovered we now have a profit of 10. We call that retained earnings. So we hit the adjust button, click with our left mouse button, enter 10, and sure enough we now have 10 white coins in our retained earnings. The next instruction is to update customer accounts. So we now need to move the 20 into cash. And now we've done that, we have to, because the icon is flashing again, we're going to have to fill in the moving balance sheet. So we left click on it. Cash. Now cash has changed. It's now 33. Machine is still worth 5. The stock is still worth 2. We're now owed nothing by our customers, and that's still worth 40. So 30 there, 10 there, and 40 there. So even though our cash has changed, our profit didn't change. So cash and profit are not always the same thing. The next thing we have to do, well, we've bought a machine and we've produced products from our machine. We're going to have to pay our staff. So what we're going to do now is go into the pay button on our cash, press the 4, move the 4 across onto the wages, and now we have to adjust retained earnings. But before we do that, we have to fill in the 6th column. So we open up moving balance sheet. Our cash has changed. It's no longer 33, it's now 29. Our machine is still worth 5. We've still got 1 yellow stock, so that's worth 2. We're still owed nothing by customers. And now our total is 36. Well, the share capital hasn't changed, which means the profit has to change. For that to balance, it has to be 6. So that has come out of our profit. We'll quickly adjust the retained earnings. So we need to take the 4 away. And now we have to show depreciation on our new machines. Now we're only going to do this once every 3 months. And we do that at the beginning of the cycle that you buy the machine. So we're going to move our button over here. The 1 automatically detaches. I bring it down and place it in depreciation. Now we have to fill in the final column of the moving balance sheet. Now cash is unchanged. It's still 29. Now the value of the machine is 4. The stock is still 2. Customers are still 0, and now the total is reduced by 1. It's now 35. Share capital has remained unchanged, which means the profit has to reduce by a further 1. So this is an example of profit reducing without any change to cash. Now we have to adjust the retained earnings, so we'll put a -1 in to reflect the fact we should only have 5. I'm just going to close the moving balance sheet, and we have now successfully completed the moving balance sheet exercise. So we'll close that prompt, and now we're going to end the phase. Are we certain we want to end the phase? This is a confirmatory command, and yes we are. And hey presto, congratulations, if you get to this screen, you have successfully completed the moving balance sheet exercise.